We know that here on earth, kings can be scary. Stories of greedy, bloodthirsty kings crowd the history of our world, taxing their people into poverty, deploying them to fight in unjust wars, enslaving them, persecuting those among them who are the most vulnerable. Even the seemingly benevolent kings live in splendor while ordinary people struggle. The British royal family alone owns 18 castles and estates. Now, in our own country, we've tried to choose a different path. Since our foundation, we have resisted the power of monarchy. The latest example, the No Kings movement, sweeping the nation. The words associated with kingly power, words like serve and obey, sound dangerous when we consider the abuses of earthly kings. Is it ever really possible to be a good king here on earth? Would we ever want to be ruled? And my answer is no, thank you. And today we celebrate a king. Not just any king. We celebrate Jesus Christ, King of the universe. So how do we move from what we know of the flawed and often dangerous kings here on earth to loving and worshiping and obeying a universal king? The doorway into what makes that possible is the life that Jesus lived here on earth, when he provided one long lesson in non-kingly behavior, in anti-kingship. Speaking to crowds, he satirized the powers that be, constantly challenged the kingly figures of his day. Jesus' life, born in a manger, grounded in poverty, lived among the common people, showed us the exact opposite of the power of earthly kings. He gave to the poor, ate with the rejected, healed the sick, and loved every single person, especially those on the margins of society. And the Beatitudes offer us his step-by-step instruction manual for this kind of opposite of power, this new realm. In his life on earth, Jesus embodied and enacted the message that power does not have to look one bit like that wielded by human kings. And not just human kings, but each and every one of us, too. Jesus' life shows us that we don't need to inflict our petty powers on one another in order to feel strong or important. There's no need to oppress others, judge others, exhibit aggression or microaggressions anywhere, at any time, in workplaces, schools, churches, or in our homes. In the passage that you just heard me read from Luke, we see Jesus nailed to the cross, suffering taunting by the crowds, by the soldiers, by the leaders standing near, saying to him, "If you are king, save yourself." Instead, he forgives them and dies, mocked in his final moments for the new kind of kingship he has brought into the world. God could have sent God's self to earth in any form, and God chose the power of humility, poverty, kindness, humor, friendship, and love. But how can we connect those words, humility, poverty, kindness, humor, friendship, love, with what it means to be a king? Let's start by expanding our focus from earth out into the cosmos, transported by the incredible language in this morning's passage that you heard John Thies read from Colossians. They say that the words of that letter of Paul's were much older than Paul, part of music that early Christians would sing in praise of Christ in one another's homes in worship. Words that the people in Colossae, which is modern-day Turkey, would have already known. And I love the idea of ancient people singing, He, Jesus Christ, is the image of the invisible God, and in him all things in heaven and earth were created. Those visible and invisible, all things have been created, I love this part, through him and for him. All things have been created through him and for him. What an insanely powerful juxtaposition. An earthly man living in poverty, one and the same with the being, the energy force who created everything. And there's more. He himself, we hear, is before all things, and, best part, in him all things hold together. These are my favorite words this morning. Like a fulcrum, Christ is at the center of everything, the hinge of the universe. And lastly, in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. This cosmic idea of Christ, plus the earthly Jesus, our friend, are the source through which we have been created and sustained. They are the source of our being. This King of the universe chose to enter and move through our world as one of us in the humblest form imaginable, and allow himself to be killed by us, all the while showing us the infinite unkillability of his universal, creational, saving love. Can we allow for this kind of king? I'll ask myself, can I allow the force of love who created the universe and holds it together and keeps it spinning, can I allow that force and friend to be my king? Can I accept guidance, pledge allegiance, offer obedience, and completely and wholeheartedly surrender my life to this life force of the universe king? Yes, yes, I can. And I pray that you can too. And while we're on the topic of what that means, what kind of allegiance are we promising this king? What does this king want from us anyway, we people who resist kings? To live, I think, according to the pattern that he laid out. He showed us how to live. It's that simultaneously impossible and utterly simple way of loving God, loving one another, doing justice, seeking peace. We know this. Now today, this morning, is so special, so significant in our life together as a congregation. We have re-entered this beautiful sanctuary we are cherishing our final moments with a great and gifted soul and talent, our beloved director of music and dear friend Canon Jim Buonamani. And it's important to ask this question on this threshold. We, followers of this opposite of a king, infinitely more than a king, leader, Jesus Christ, how are we here at St. James going to lead and serve and inspire others to lead and serve for the next 100 years? How are we going to make this neighborhood and this city and this world more just, more humane, a more loving place to live? How might we relinquish our tendencies to judge and gossip and generally harm one another? How can we use the power that we do have, not just benevolently, but transformatively in the lives of others? I know we can, and I know we will. Just as our beautiful space has been made new, our new realm, let our hearts be refreshed and made new on this holy day. Amen.